Hello everyone, this is our 10th lecture on hydraulic engineering and machines. In the last lecture, we have finished unit number 1. Now we start unit number 2. In unit number 2, we have to focus on energy depth relationship, its application for interpretation of open channel phenomena, flow through vertical and horizontal contractions. We will see the equation of gradually varied flow in this unit, flow classification, and different type of surface profiles made in gradually varied flow. Then integration of gradually varied flow equation by analytical, graphical, and numerical methods. After that, we will see the measurement of discharge and velocity by Venturi flume, standing wave flume, partial flume, broad crested wire, current emitter, and by floats. Energy depth relation. Here energy means specific energy. Okay, so energy depth relationship we have seen in unit number 1 here, critical depth, concepts of specific energy. Okay, so the basic concept we have discussed in unit number 1 of specific energy and depth. Here we will start with flow through vertical and horizontal contraction. Here vertical contraction means, suppose this is a channel bed and this is a water surface. Okay, if we change the depth of flow, if we are providing any obstruction so that its depth of flow will change, then this type of transition is called vertical contraction. Okay, here we are changing the depth of flow by providing any obstruction. And flow through horizontal contraction. Horizontal contraction means, suppose this is a top view of the channel, and if we are changing the width of the channel, then this type of change is called horizontal contraction. Okay, this is a side view and this is a top view of the channel. So let's start with this type of changes in the channel are called transition. Okay, this is a vertical transition, this is a horizontal transition. Okay, so let's start the topic transition. Here we are going to see how the flow changes in this kind of transition in the channel. The concept of specific energy and critical depth are extremely useful in the analysis of problems connected with transitions. Okay, to understand in better way, let's take a simple geometry of channel, that is rectangular channel. Okay, but remember this principle is equally applicable for the channels of any other shapes like triangular channel and trapezoidal channel. Okay, let's consider a channel with a hump. What is hump? Hump is a rounded raised mass of a material. Okay, in this figure you can see this is a rounded raised mass of any material. Hump is a kind of transition that we usually provide to the channel in order to increase or decrease the depth of flow. First of all, let's take the case of subcritical flow. Let's consider a horizontal, frictionless rectangular channel of width B carrying a discharge Q at a depth y1. Okay. At section 2, here in this figure, this is section 2. At section 2, a smooth hump of height delta Z is built on the floor. Okay. Now, what will be the total energy at section 1 and at section 2? Remember, here we are considering a frictionless channel, means there is no loss in the channel. Okay, so the total energy at section 1 and section 2 will be saved. So the total energy at section 1 will be y1 plus v1 square upon 2g. Remember, here datum we are considering the bottom of the channel. Okay, this is the datum we are considering for finding the total energy, equal to the total energy at section 2 delta Z, that is the height of hump, y2 depth of flow, and kinetic energy v2 square upon 2g. Clear? This portion we can define by E1. This is delta Z, and this we can define by E2. What is E1 and E2? These are specific energy, because this energy we are finding by considering the datum as the channel bottom. Okay, here at section 1, this is the bottom of the channel, and at section number 2, if we consider this level, okay, this level, and find the total energy, then the resulting energy will be defined as specific energy. So specific energy at section 2 is y2 plus v2 square upon 2g. Now we can see, by providing the hump in the channel, the specific energy is decreasing. Okay, let's draw a specific energy curve for better understanding. Clear? This curve represent a specific energy curve. Clear? At section 2, at section 1, the depth of flow is y1. Okay, suppose this is y1. Okay, and the specific energy at section 1 is E1. Clear? Now we know that by providing the hump in the channel at section 2, the specific energy is decreased, and by what amount it is decreased? By this equation, if you observe, the specific energy is decreased at section 2 by amount delta Z. Okay. So this point represent along the y-axis the depth of flow at section 2, and along the x-axis it represent specific energy at section 2, and the difference between the specific energy is nothing but height of hump, that is delta Z. So what would be the depth of flow at section 2? That will be less than the depth of flow at section 1. Okay, by observing the specific energy curve, and we have to consider this portion of the specific energy curve because about this line, we know that about this line the flow is defined as subcritical flow. Okay, because the depth of flow is greater than the critical depth of flow, and this portion of specific energy curve represent supercritical flow. Okay, so from the specific energy curve we can say that by providing hump in the channel, the depth of flow decreased. Now what will happen if we further decrease the height of hump? If we further decrease the height of hump, then the specific energy will further decrease and the depth of flow will go on decrease. Okay, the minimum depth is reached when the y2 becomes yc. Okay, the minimum depth of flow will be reached when y2 becomes yc, means we are talking about this point. At this point the depth of flow will be yc and the specific energy will be minimum, and in this case the height of hump will be maximum, which is denoted by delta Zm. Okay, and in this condition the specific energy at section 1 will be E1, and at section 2 the total energy will be delta Zm plus EC. Okay, at section 2 the specific energy will become minimum, or we can say the specific energy is critical. Now we take the condition when the height of hump is greater than delta Zm. What will happen in this case? If we further increase the height of hump beyond delta Zm, then in this case the flow will not be possible for a given specific energy at section 1, that is E1. So in order to cause the flow, we need to increase the specific energy at section 1, and in order to increase the specific energy at section 1, we need to increase the depth of flow. Look at this figure, this curve. Here, to increase the specific energy at section 1, we need to increase the depth of flow. So automatically the depth of flow at section 1 will increase when we further increase the height of hump beyond delta Zm. Clear? So in this condition the specific energy at section 1 will be E1 dash, that is equal to Y1 dash plus Q square divided by B square Y1 dash square into 2g. Remember, Y1 dash is greater than Y1, initial depth. Okay, and also E1 dash is greater than E1. Then what about at section 2? At section 2 the specific energy will remain critical or minimum. Okay, means the energy equation will be E1 dash minus delta Z is equal to E2, and this E2 is equal to EC. Clear? And what is EC? EC is YC plus Q square divided by 2G B square YC square. The phenomena of flow in channel with a hump in case of subcritical flow we can understand by observing a plot which is drawn between delta Z, which is the height of hump in the x-axis, and the depth of flow at section 1 and section 2, that is y1 and y2 in the y-axis. Okay. So have a look on this plot. First of all, pick this point. At this point, when the height of hump is 0, the depth of flow at section 1 and section 2 are same, means y1 is equal to y2. As we increase the height of hump, firstly we pick the depth of flow at section 1 y1. Firstly we look at this curve. When the height of hump is increased, the depth of flow at section 1 will remain constant up to the critical flow, okay, while the depth y2 at section 2 will decrease when the height of hump is increased, okay, and it is continue to decrease up to critical flow condition when the height of hump is delta Zn. Clear? When we further increase the depth of height of the hump beyond delta Zm, then to cause the flow, specific energy at section 1 should be increased, and in order to increase the specific energy at section 1, the depth of flow at section 1 go on increase with the height of hump, whereas the depth of flow at section 2 will remain constant and its magnitude will be equal to Yc, that is critical depth of flow. Clear? Now let's find minimum size of hump which is required for critical flow. Minimum size of hump for critical flow. What is the energy equation in case of hump? E1 is equal to E2 plus delta Z. For critical flow condition, here we are taking a case of frictionless situation, okay. Frictionless situation means here we do not consider any type of loss in the flow in channel, okay. For critical flow condition, this equation will become E1 is equal to Ec plus delta Zn. What is Ec in case of rectangular channel? That is 3/2 times of critical depth. Divide y1 both the sides. Delta Zm divided by y1 is equal to, what is E1? That is y1 plus v1 square upon 2g whole divided by y1 minus 3/2 Yc in terms of discharge we can write as q square divided by g whole to the power 1/2, okay, divided by y1. What is small q? Small q is nothing but discharge divided by width of channel, means discharge per unit width. Delta Zm divided by y1 is equal to, this will become 1 plus v1 square upon 2g y1. This will be 3/2. What is small q? Small q is equal to v1 y1 is equal to vc yc. So substitute the value of small q is equal to v1 y1. v1 square y1 square divided by g. If we take this y1 inside a cube root, then here we need to put power of y1 as 3, whole to the power 1 by 3. Delta Zm divided by y1 is equal to 1 plus v1 square upon 2gy1. This is v1 square upon gy1 is square of Froude number at section 1 minus 3 by 2. Here y1 square will be cancelled out by this power, and v1 square upon gy1 is Froude number, square of Froude number at section 1, and its whole power is 1 by 3. So the final equation to find the minimum height of for a critical flow will be delta Zm divided by y1 is equal to 1 plus f1 square divided by 2 minus 3 by 2 f1 to the power 2 by 3. So to find the height of which is required to cause critical flow in the channel, what parameter is required? The depth of flow at section 1 and the Froude number at section 1. To find the Froude number, we need velocity of flow in the channel at section 1. Means without providing hump in the channel, we can find the value of delta Z. Clear? Now we take the second case when there is energy loss. The energy equation in this case will be E1 is equal to E2 plus delta Z plus loss of head. In critical flow condition, this equation will become E1 is equal to EC plus delta Zm plus loss of head. Again divide y1 in both the sides. We have solved this one. Okay, we can replace the value of E1 minus EC divided by y1 by 1 plus f1 square by 2 minus 3 by 2 f1 to the power 2 by 3. Okay, so that is 1 plus f1 square by 2 minus 3 by 2 f1 to the power 2 by 3. This is the equation to find the minimum height of in case of head loss.